It's the second race of the weekend for the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge and G40 Cup. They've already had one race earlier on this morning, which was an absolute thriller. Ended in slightly bizarre circumstances with a safety car and then a race restart and then a red flag, but we're hoping for a clean 25 minutes of racing this time for the next round of the championship. The track and ambient temperature has improved quite significantly, actually up by about 4 or 5 degrees since this morning, so we are the drivers will be hoping that that yields maybe a bit more grip. Also, that threat of rain seems to have gone away for the time being. The race earlier on today then, there was a bit of confusion as to who had won the race, because there was possibly an overtake behind yellow flags, and that indeed was seen to be the case. Josh Steed in the end getting the victory, with Ben McKenna second, and Will Aspin there, who was ahead on the road at the time of the checkered flag, was eventually given a 0.8 second time penalty for overtaking under the safety car. Why 0.8 seconds? Well, because that was just enough for him to drop back down to third, which is where he had been before the illegal overtake, and I think that the clerk of the course possibly took some pity on him there, because we did say, speculate at the time that he was probably unsighted and couldn't see the yellow flags. So Will Aspin ends up hanging on to third, at least, with Josh Steed, the championship leader, extending his margin in the points with that race victory. That was all in the GT5 Pro division. In GT5 Am, it was Chris White that took the victory from Karim Sekat and Phil McCarthy, whilst in the G40 Cup, the Pro category was won by Thomas Holland from Mark Warren second and Nick White third. The Am class, Rupert Lasslett the winner, Andrew Willis second and Nick White third. It's a big grid of cars, over 30 of them, hopefully, if they're all back out there again after that first race, that are about to head out onto that green flag lap then, ahead of 25 minutes, hopefully the full 25 minutes this time, around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. There is the green flag waving, so the warm-up lap now, or the green flag lap, whatever you want to call it, will get underway now. Josh Steed there, the black and orange car, has the pole position. Let's run through that grid now, shall we? Let you know where everyone's starting. Steed and John Bennett on the front row. Bennett had a difficult race in the previous race, finished only 10th, having arrived here, third in the points. Will Aspin third, with Ben McKenna fourth place on the grid. The grid, by the way, based upon second fastest laps from qualifying. Will Orton and Magnus Kruklevi share the third row of the grid. Will Orton was up there in the previous race as well. Mikey Doval wasn't, though, really. He'll be hoping to make progress from 7th, and likewise Nat Hodgkiss alongside him on the 4th row. Row 5 for Harley Horton, who did make progress in race 1 in the Elite Motorsport car. Connor Grady, though, was a non-finisher after what looked like a mechanical issue put him out in the early stages. He lines up 10th. David Elsley and Ignacio Zanon are together on the 6th row of the grid. Then on row 7, it's Owen Hizzy and the luckless Aidan Hills, who had a spectacular spin on the first lap of race number 1 down at Stowe, was lucky to be avoided by the rest of the pack. Will Rochford and Haytham Carajulia next on the 8th row of the grid. Row 9 is Harry Mangian, and he is the leading Am contender on the grid ahead of Paolo Santi. Then you've got Karim Sekat, front runner in the Am category. Likewise, Chris White. They've both got some work to do now. Top 2 in the Am category in the previous race, but they're down on about the 3rd or 4th row in the class now. Bal Sidhu and Phil McCarthy, other way round, are together on the 11th row of the grid. McCarthy ahead of Sidhu, then Mark Steele. And then there's a gap and a 10-second delay before the G40 Cup contenders launch off the line. Thomas Holland, the race 1 winner, will be on the class pole position, ahead of Mark Warren, who chased him home to 2nd place. And Nick White will be 3rd on the G40 Cup grid. Then it's Brendan Maud and Rupert Lasslett next, whilst rounding out the top 30 overall. We will have Andrew Willis and Brendan Hafner. And then we start getting towards the tail end of the G40 Cup grid. We've got Peter Dillnott and James Turner ahead of Stephen Moore and Stephen Davis for the 2 SVG Motorsport teammates at the back of the grid. So, championship-wise, Josh Steed looking good now, of course. Got himself another 35 points from the previous race. Make that 36, actually, because he scored the fastest lap as well. Will Aspin for 3rd position, scored 26 points. And John Bennett only managed to finish down in 10th place, so he was really the big loser in all of that. What it means is that the gap now between Steed and Aspin at the top of the championship table is provisionally at 16 points, but we still have an awfully long way to go. They head to Donington Park with the British GT package in a few weeks' time on the Grand Prix circuit. Then they're at Snetterton on the 300 circuit before heading up to Croft. I believe that's on the British Touring Car package, and then back with us again for the finale on the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit at the end of the year. So we are not even close really to halfway through the season yet. but the points still matter. The points you score now can still go a long way towards deciding your final championship position come the end of the year. So it's still important to try and keep track of these points, and certainly those two are now starting to edge away slightly from the rest of the pack, because John Bennett, third in the championship, didn't have a good race earlier on. David Elsley was only 8th as well, and he was 4th in the points, and then he had to go back another 23 points anyway to find Will Rochford, 5th in the points, 13th in the earlier race. So realistically, it's boiling into a two-way fight here between Steed and Aspin. John Bennett was a championship contender last year, but in fact he's the only one of the 3 drivers that arrived at Silverstone at the end of last season with a shot at the championship to continue racing in 2021. And although he has got 2 wins to his name, that non-finish, when you consider there are 35 points available for winning a race, it's very hard to come back from a non-finish unless those that are ahead of you in the points then start non-finishing races as well. At least Bennett's got himself a decent grid position for this one, though. John Bennett, the white and blue number 27 car, starts on that front row of the grid, but it's Josh Steed, the black and orange car on the outside line, that has the pole position. Will Aspin and Ben McKenna make up the second row of the grid. The green flag is waved at the back of that grid, though, and we're ready to go racing then for round number 7 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge, the second race of the weekend here from the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Red lights go on. They go out now, we're away and racing. Who gets off that front row the best? Is it going to be Steed on the right? Is it Bennett on the left? It looks pretty even to me as they come towards us into Copse Corner. The inside line prevails for Bennett, though, and he goes through. McKenna's got third as well ahead of Aspin, so that's already been a couple of changes as they all try and leave each other plenty of space coming out of Copse Corner. The G40 Cup runners get going as well, but the overall race leaders are going 3 wide into Beckett, and that's Mikey Doble at the inside. That was a committed move from Mikey Doble into 4th position. Mikey, I know, he might lose out again here to Magnus Kruklevi. Mikey is a big NASCAR fan. That was a pretty NASCAR-style move, wasn't it? Elbows out there as he tried to force the issue on the opening lap of the race. It's so important to try and get away with the leaders because of the effect of the slipstream in this series. So you've got to be on your toes in the early stages. Look, the top 4 already breaking away. Bennett to the inside, trying to defend from 3 of them behind. It's Ben McKenna that goes second now, ahead of Steed third. Will Aspin 4th. Screech of tyres. Doble is around, and there's a big collision. Number 74 is involved in all of that, and exit stage left. That was Owen Hizzy. Doble had tangled with somebody else, I think, and it was the somebody else that ended up a bit of a pinball in the middle. We'll get a replay of that, I'm sure, before too much longer. Aidan Hills there in the blue and orange car at least has survived Stowe Corner this time, which he didn't in the previous race, had a spin and dropped to the back of the field. So Bennett leads then, McKenna second, Steed third, Aspin 4th, Magnus Kruklevi is there in 5th place trying to go with them, but he lost a lot of time in the first few corners when Doble made it 3 wide going into Beckett's corner. Then it looks like it's going to be not Haytham Caragiuli, that is one of the elite cars, isn't it, in 5th spot. Harley Horton, possibly, I think that is, in 6th position, I should say. Aspin up the inside of Steed through Aintree, uses the curb, but he's up the inside nice and cleanly, and he should get past Josh Steed. It's not really worth Steed fighting that too hard at this stage. Again, you just want to stay in that lead tow. Kruklevi is catching these 4, isn't he, actually? So Magnus Kruklevi, who finished the earlier race 6th and wasn't able to go with the leaders on that occasion, is trying to make sure he does that this time. And he's been able to close in on them pretty quickly, actually, set the outright fastest middle sector, or 3rd sector of the lap there. Right, Mikey, oh, there's another spin. That's number 16 that's gone around, coming out of Brooklands. And number 16 is Bal Sidhu, who was in the AM category, but was inside the top 10 overall until he had that spin, so he'll be a bit frustrated with that. G40 Cup contenders, meanwhile, coming through Brooklands. This looks like it is the battle for the lead then, so it's the number 23 that has got the lead. The safety car is being scrambled. As a result, I guess, of what happened down at Stowe Corner. Yes, number 23 is Thomas Hollands, so Hollands kept on to the lead. 31, yes, I thought we'd lost Will Orton. That's a shame. So Orton was, I'm guessing, involved in the Stowe incident, although that's not Stowe, that's Club, that he's come to rest. Pushed the car out of harm's way, but it looks like there's damage maybe to the steering, so I guess he had the contact and then limped as far as Club before retiring. There's another car just coming into the pit lane very slowly. Which is going to be heading in for retirement as well, it would appear. So we're going to lose 1 or 2 of them here in the early stages, but John Bennett has that lead. McKenna second, Aspin third, Steed 4th, and Magnus Kruklevi in 5th position. Let's see who hasn't come through at the end of the first lap. Then Paolo Santi hasn't made it, nor have Orton and Hizzy, and it was Nat Hodgkiss into the pit lane. So Hodgkiss and Orton, I think, would have been involved in the initial contact with Doble. Then Hizzy got involved somehow as he collected one of them spinning across the road. Quite possibly that was Will Orton's car. We shall piece it together as we can, as best we can, once things settle down and the marshals have started to deal with the incident. So Bennett leads overall then in GT5 Pro as well. GT5 AM is being led by Harry Mangan. Now, who did I say the race 1 AM winner was? 77 there, you can see, being recovered. That's Paolo Santi, and that is... where is that? That looks like Maggots Beckett's, doesn't it, to me? So, yes, it is, isn't it? That's, so he was actually a separate incident in the Raceway Motorsport car. Yeah, that's just on the exit of Beckett's. So there are 2 or 3 cars in 2 or 3 different locations on the track. So that's maybe going to take a little bit longer to clear up then. Yes, GT5 AM won by Chris White from Karim Sekat in the earlier race. Well, now it's being led by Harry Mangan. Sekat is 3rd, White is 4th in class. That's Owen Hizzy's car, which got airborne slightly, actually, when it made that initial contact going into Stowe Corner. Owen already out of the car. Look, a marshal was just steering it into place. Nice to see. I think that's an NHS logo on the roof then. Saying thank you to our National Health Service for all of their incredible work they've done over the last 18 months or so. Goes without saying, really, but I know a lot of teams and drivers have chosen to run logos or, in some cases, full-on liveries on their cars to thank those working in our National Health Service. And great to see. Right, replays. Let's try and piece this together, shall we? A lot of it's going to centre around that blue and white number 88 of Mikey Doble, who comes charging past everyone into Beckett's and then gets involved in more contact going into Stowe Corner. At the head of the field, John Bennett just got off the line fractionally better, and really just that inside line is what gave him the run out of Copse, or into Copse, and allowed him to take the lead away from Josh Steed. Steed would later fall down to 4th, though, by the end of this opening lap. Now, keep an eye on Doble then. Doble is on the 4th row, the outside of the 4th row there, the dark blue stripe down the middle, the yellow 88 on the roof. And Mikey Doble here, look, up the inside of Crooklevy and Orton, that is. Crooklevy gives Orton a bit of an elbow. What happens to Karim Sekat? There, not Sekat, there goes Paolo Santi. And then down at Stowe, they're already made a bit of contact, and then, yeah, Orton and Hizzy come to blows. So Orton might have missed it had he not had the contact with Hizzy, but of course Orton had to turn left into Hizzy there to avoid the cars in front, and then that was Bal Sidhu with the spin at Brooklands. So the one thing I didn't catch from that was who tipped Paolo Santi into a spin. I saw that he was helped around, but I didn't quite get the number. But everything else I think we've now pretty much pieced together. And yeah, dramatic opening lap of racing. Safety car then still out, but I'm hopeful it will just be the one more lap behind that safety car, because we should be able to get most of the cars out of the way relatively quickly. As I say, they're all in different locations, but actually that might be a good thing, because it means that the marshals that are on one marshal's post are not having to deal with 2 or 3 different cars. It's the responsibility of lots of marshals around the track to move the cars out of the way. Aidan Hills is having a good race, isn't he? 9th place. I know we've only had one racing lap, but that's still a big improvement on his first ever racing lap in the championship. Aidan, one of many drivers actually who made the move from Mazda MX-5 racing to Ginetta racing. It's the GT5 Challenge is regarded by many club racers, top-end club racers, as the next natural step out of one-make club racing and onto the national scene, if you like. And that's because the cars are, they've got performance, but they're not super powerful, they're not super expensive to run. And Hills Motorsport running that Ginetta as well. So Aidan's running the car himself. He's the blue and orange number 80 car weaving towards us. But yeah, this is a natural championship for those really good club racers to jump into, to see if they've got what it takes to make it on a grander scale in motorsport. Obviously, deep pockets help as well if you want to make it much further up the tree, but this is a great proving round. And if you don't want to jump straight into the GT5 challenge, you've got the G40 Cup, which caters for less experienced or maybe gentleman racers as well. We've got the GRDC Championship, we've got the new GT Academy this year for Ginetta, which made its debut at Brands Hatch on the British GT meeting a number of weeks ago, with 3 fantastic races, all won by Toby Trice in the new Ginetta GT Academy car. So whatever your experience or skill level, Ginetta will be able to put you in a car and allow you to go out and enjoy yourself on track. Will Rochford there going through just ahead of the G40 Cup leaders, Thomas Holland and Mark Warren from Nick White. And in fact, this time the top 3 in G40 Cup are all pro drivers. Rupert Laslett, who leads the AM category, is 4th overall, ahead of the 13 of Brendan Hafner and the 69 of Peter Dillnott, who are 1st, 2nd and 3rd in the G40 AM class. So the lights then, I think we're still on the safety car, but I'm hopeful they'll go off going down the Wellington Straight. There'll be a certain point on the track where the safety car driver is told to put the lights off, and we'll hopefully get about a quarter of an hour's worth of racing. Yeah, the safety car's really pulled away from the field. I think, yeah, the lights are off on the McLaren safety car. So we're good to go racing again then here in this 7th round of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge. John Bennett has the race lead. Ben McKenna 2nd, 3rd Will Aspin, 4th Josh Steed, and Magnus Kruklevi. All that hard work to try and make sure he went with the leaders on the opening lap. He probably needn't have bothered because the safety car was going to bring them all together anyway, but he wasn't to know that, obviously. Going to get quite a late safety car. No, he's gone early, actually, or early-ish, as John Bennett just as he accelerated out of the final corner. The yellow flags will be replaced by green ones, and we will get racing back underway again here at Silverstone then. Down to turn 1 goes John Bennett, turns into that really quick right-hander at Copse Corner. There's Mikey Doble. There is damage to the bottom of that car, I noticed. It was there actually before his moment at Stowe, so I don't know whether it was like that from the start, but he's got something flapping around underneath the car. That hopefully won't become too much of an issue. Bit of a moment there for Ben McKenna as he tried to challenge for the lead into Beckett's and actually now ends up losing momentum, and so Will Aspin gets onto his tail. No change of the order that I can see in the first few corners of the restart, but that won't last long because McKenna's had a good exit, has he, from Chapel down the Hanger Straight, starts weaving around in the slipstream, trying to close in on John Bennett. It's going to be almost impossible here for Bennett to escape. It'll be impossible for anyone to escape unless the 2nd and 3rd place cars start holding each other up. That's the one way that you can give yourself a relatively easy race victory in this category, and that is to make a break whilst those behind you trip over each other. Bennett then defending, look, into the Vale through Club. The left, the right, and then another right flat out in these cars. Well, both of those right-handers are flat out in these cars. Aidan Hills and Mikey Doble there having a good scrap over 9th place. Doble's got past Harry Mangan on this lap, which you'd expect because Doble's a pro. Mangan is leading in the AM category, and there's a spin, and that's number 57. That's Nick White. That is Nick White then from 3rd in the G40 Cup. And 3rd in the pro class as well. So Nick White, I'm afraid, in the Asset Advantage liveried car, at a bit of a disadvantage there after a spin going through Club Corner. The leaders are heading through Village. That was Chris White, I think, going up the inside, was it, of... was that Harry Mangan or was that someone else? We'll work that out in a second. The leaders, though, look at this for a battle. 2, 4, 6, 7, nearly 8 of them together as they get in the slipstream down the Wellington Straight. The inside goes Ben McKenna. To the outside is Will Aspin. So John Bennett, who was leading last time we saw them, is down to 3rd. He's on the inside line trying to fight back into the left-hander. Aspin's going to try and turn in. That almost ended in contact, but it's McKenna that gets the lead. Aspin 2nd, Bennett 3rd. Side by side for 4th, though, and I think that's Harley Horton on the inside in the yellow and black Elite Motorsport car. Challenging Josh Steed in the Zentech Motorsport 58 car. And then David Elsley behind them, number 39, former Ford Fiesta champion, made a move to Ginetta's a few years ago. He's been getting quicker and quicker ever since. He gets the run on the pair of them, looks to the inside, they're 3 wide into Copse Corner. Oh, that was going to be tight. The leaders go through, but for 4th place, it was 3 of them as one. Will Aspin goes off the track in his attempts to get past Ben McKenna. Did they all survive behind? I think they did, with an orange car at the front of the queue. 3 wide for the race leading to Beckett's corner, though, and Ben McKenna gets the advantage. Bennett 2nd. That was terrific racing, and Ben McKenna then was not going to back out of that. He had the run or Aspin had the run on him out of Copse, but he wasn't going to let Aspin go. John Bennett bought into it all as well, and it's McKenna that hangs on to the lead. Side by side for second now then. Aspin on the dark blue car on the left, the white car with the blue nose. Number 27 is John Bennett, who, bit of contact down the straight. Bennett wants to get back in the queue before David Elsley goes up the inside. Elsley going for third position, he's going to get it as well. David Elsley back into P3, but runs a bit wide on the exit, so Bennett tries to fight back. He's not going to be able to get fully alongside, though, I don't think, on the run down towards Club. Terrific racing this, but you sense it can't last forever. Double waved yellows there, I noticed, in the braking zone. There must be a car in a dangerous position round here. I mean, there's the car they recovered earlier on, but that shouldn't be the reason for the yellow flags. That might be a reason for one, though. That looks like Rupert Laslett from the lead of the AM class in G40. That's at Copse, but Rupert Laslett was leading his class, and he's out of the race. So G40 Cup has been one of those races no one wants to win at the moment, it seems. Now, is that going to require a safety car? If it does, this could be a timely move for Will Aspin, because he gets into the lead of the race now. Knocks McKenna down to second, and now David Elsley up the inside for second place. David Elsley, out of absolutely nowhere, has found some serious pace in this race, and he muscles his way up the inside of McKenna. McKenna now is on the outside looking in, and risks being swamped by everyone, because up the inside of him now goes... who was that? That would have been John Bennett for third, Josh Steed for fourth, and then Harley Horton behind as well. So Elsley is now second, but he's got Bennett coming up the inside, and Elsley goes for the lead out of absolutely nowhere, but he loses the car. What a shame for David Elsley. I don't think he meant to challenge for the lead then. He was so busy defending from Bennett that he missed his braking point, sailed up the inside of Will Aspin, and lost control of the car. And so David Elsley, after a storming lap and a half, is unfortunately going to drop out of contention, barring a safety car, of course, but even then it will take some doing for him to get back into this group. Oh, and there are yellow flags. Oh, that's yellow flags at Copse, though, not a safety car. So yellow flags at Copse, but they're still racing. Just no overtaking at that particular corner. The lead gaggle, by the way, now stretches all the way back to Mikey Doble in 8th, who's just set the fastest lap. Doble's going to get a result out of this, even if it's the last thing he does. He's determined to work his way back into the top 5. There goes Elsley. I mean... it looked like a really ambitious move, but I'm fairly certain he didn't mean to make the move. He was just out-braking himself because he was so focused on John Bennett trying to come up the inside of him that he missed the braking point, and in order to avoid Aspin, probably had to roll off the brakes again and really overshoot the corner to avoid contact. So count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them in the lead train. Disappointingly, they're not 3 wide this time into Stowe, but that possibly is for the best. Spots of rain now appearing on the camera lens down at Stowe. Having confidently predicted that the threat of rain had passed, that now seems not to be the case. 8 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. Game on for the lead again. To the outside goes John Bennett. Aspin defends from him, though. Behind Magnus Kruklevi there, picks the pocket of Harley Horton. Oh, and Ben McKenna, really cheeky move there up the inside of John Bennett for second, and they both get a bit of a run on Will Aspin ahead. Aspin is really mirror driving now, just trying to keep these cars behind if he can. But that's going to get increasingly hard to do as we get deeper and deeper into the race. This queue behind is getting bigger and bigger, and the further back in the train you are, the more momentum you can gain from a slipstream. Up the inside goes Bennett, Aspin to the outside, they're 3 wide again, and Aspin didn't know. Aspin had no idea that they were 3 wide. He turned in expecting Ben McKenna to go for the apex, but he couldn't. McKenna had Bennett up the inside, and Will Aspin, second in the championship, is pointing the wrong way at Village, and he's still stranded there, waiting for a gap in the traffic. Finally, he rejoins, just behind lap 1 spinner, Balsidou. So, Bennett with the lead, Steed second, McKenna third, Horton fourth, Mikey Doble. Mikey Doble's into 5th position now. Mikey is looking for his first ever podium in the championship, that number 88 car, and having been involved in an accident on lap 1, he could still do it. He's on the tail of Harley Horton now in the elite car. They need to be careful, though, that these top 2 don't make a break, because there is a little bit of distance now between Josh Steed in second and Ben McKenna in third. Kruklevi's bonnet there coming a bit loose, but that shouldn't be too much of a worry. Mikey Doble's got that flapping bodywork underneath his car, which definitely isn't a worry, because he has gained 3 places on that lap, past Kruklevi, Grady, and of course the unlucky Will Aspin, who there, look, is coming across the line just behind Balsidou. That's going to be about 14th place, no, 13th place for Will Aspin. 12 places lost. There goes Chris White, who is leading the AM category again now in GT5 Challenge from Harry Mangan, the next car behind him. So Chris White already with 1 class victory under his belt this weekend, looking for another, but Harry Mangan is right there behind him. Manjan was a non-finisher earlier on, so really would like a good result. And I thought I heard a screech of tyres, and that is a spectacular spin for the number 22 of Mark Steele, who I seem to recall being in the gravel trap in race 1. Thankfully doesn't make the gravel this time, but a spectacular spin nonetheless will delay him quite some bit. Cricklevy and Grady there for 6th, but that's Cricklevy staying ahead of Conor Grady, who also was a non-finisher for mechanical reasons in race number 1. They're all starting to converge again, aren't they? The gap between 2nd and 3rd is coming down because Ben McKenna in 3rd just set the outright fastest first sector, about half a second quicker than the 2 in front of him. So McKenna is with the leaders, Harley Horton's going with him, and then there's a bit of a gap back to Mikey Doble in 5th, but Doble should be able to get back up to them if, and let's face it, when they start tripping over each other again, because we still have 5 3/4 minutes left in this race. Still any one of at least 7 drivers could win the race. Thomas Holland here has a bit of a fight on his hands, doesn't he, in this race? Holland and Mark Warren. Warren had the lead, actually, at the start of the lap, so Warren's got ahead of Thomas Holland since the restart, and now Holland's trying to fight back, and fight back he does on the inside into Club. And he's going to move back ahead there. That was a really good move. He's been watching the British GT race, hasn't he? Showed there that we can you can overtake round the outside at Stowe. But then he's got to be careful not to leave the door open through Club. That was as close as you like as they went back out onto the new pit straight past the Silverstone wing. Right, after a lap of relative calm, this looks like it's all about to kick off again now, doesn't it, at the front of the field? John Bennett has been relatively unchallenged on this lap, and actually, as Josh Steed starts to, well, make a bit of a mistake there, ran wide into the dirt coming out of Luffield, he's watching his mirrors, he's defending a bit from Ben McKenna, and so Bennett will see that in his mirrors and have a little smile on his face, because if they start tripping over each other too much, it could allow him to break away. Through Copse go the leaders, 4.5 minutes or so left on the clock. Fastest lap that time set by the yellow and black car in 4th of Harley Horton, who finished 5th in the previous race. Now sniffs an opportunity to get, again, a first podium of the season. There you can see the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen showing the classes, and this is, well, a recovering Rupert Laslett, who is a G40 AM runner. The 23 and 50 car, though, these two are fighting for the Pro League. So actually, yes, so Rupert Laslett is the G40 Cup leader, despite the fact that he's an AM driver, technically, and he's caught and passed the scrapping Tom Holland and Mark Warren. So Laslett goes from 3rd to 1st, whilst Holland and Warren were side by side for basically an entire lap. It's entertaining and all, but it definitely slows you down a little bit. Right, into Club come the leaders, and that's Harley Horton making friends up the inside of Ben McKenna. Bit of paint traded, but the position doesn't actually change hands. You can see what I was talking about there, can't you? John Bennett just starting to get away there with that little exchange. I presume Steed was a bit slow off Stowe Corner, and that's just backed everybody up now. So you've got Steed 2nd, the black and orange car, then it's Ben McKenna, Harley Horton, Mikey Doble, Magnus Cricklevy, the red car at the back of the group, and Conor Grady doing his best to stay with them, although he has slipped back a bit in the last lap or so. Doble to the inside, attacking Horton, defending from Cricklevy, and Cricklevy's going to go around the outside there through Village to try and get the inside for the loop, but Mikey Doble really sends it into the corner very quickly, and on the outside line he'll try and come off the corner a bit better. Can he turn in? Can he turn in? No, he had to leave Cricklevy some room, so that means they're still wheel to wheel going down the back straight. But look at Bennett getting away. In the middle sector, John Bennett was nearly 4 tenths quicker than second place man Josh Steed, and in the 3rd sector he's another 2.5 tenths quicker, so he's not quite breaking the toe yet, but he's getting to that point, is John Bennett. John Bennett, twice a winner. Of the 4 races he's finished, he's never finished worse than 2nd, actually. He had a win at Thruxton and a 2nd and a win at Brands Hatch, but then didn't finish the 3rd race. And so that is why he's quite a long way back in the points. But if he can win this one, that'll certainly do his championship hopes the world of good. He's almost exactly 1 second clear. That was a personal best lap for Bennett, a 2:25.571. Oh, as 2 drivers into the dirt. Balsidou is the one in the dust, but the one throwing up the dust was the 44 of Harry Manjan. He was challenging Chris White for the GT5 AM lead, and Chris showed him the edge of the road coming out of Luffield, as is his right to do, in fairness. Car on the inside is allowed to drift wide there. If you're going to brave it out around the outside, you have to expect to be in the dirt coming off the corner. Right, G40 Cup now. There are 4 different races going on here, and they're all really exciting. This is Rupert Laslett still in the lead of the G40 Cup, despite being an AM driver, keeping Mark Warren at bay, but Thomas Holland's dropped back a bit now in 3rd. At the start of the lap, he was right with them, but he's lost time, I think, further around the lap. Magnus Kruklevi here, alongside Harley Horton for 4th. The top 3 breaking away now then. I'd say that Steed is closing in on the leader, and he's bringing with him Ben McKenna. Yeah, in the first sector, Steed was 2/10 quicker than John Bennett, so the gap's back under a second now. And of course, the closer you get to the car ahead, the more of a slipstream you pick up. Just trying to work out whether this will be the last lap. I think they might just get back around for one more. It's going to be really tight, isn't it? We'll see. It might actually be the last lap. We'll see whether it's a checkered flag or a last lap board that comes out. Kruklevi to the outside of Horton. No way through. Oh, and Horton's lost it. Harley Horton loses it and is, well, it's a full 360, 10 out of 10 for recovery, but unfortunately Harley Horton's podium chances have now fallen by the wayside. So now you've got 3 for the lead-ish and 3 for 4th. Bennett, though, I think is pretty clear. And yeah, I'm now beginning to suspect this might be the last lap of the race. Into Brooklands they go then. 18 seconds left on the clock. Yeah, it will be, won't it? So the checkered flag's going to be waiting for John Bennett at the end of this race to take his 3rd victory of the season. That will now put him 1 behind Josh Steed. Steed has 4 wins now and Bennett 3. But Will Aspin, after finishing at the moment down in 9th position, could lose 2nd place in the championship here. The checkered flag is waiting then, and John Bennett takes the victory in round number 7 of the Protyre Motorsport Ginetta GT5 Challenge. 2nd place goes the way of Josh Steed, Ben McKenna 3rd, and then for 4th it is Kruklevi, Doble, Grady, the order with Harley Horton 7th after that last lap spin. Harley's not going to be happy with that. Haytham Caragiuli a strong 8th, David Elsley 9th, Will Aspin 10th. So Aspin actually lost a place there to Elsley. Both of them, of course, having had spins at one point or another. Right, G40 Cup then is being led, I presume, still by Rupert Laslett, although I can't see him. No, Laslett's behind them again now, so Laslett's lost the overall lead. Warren and Holland they've got Will Roachford, I think, just ahead of them, who's a GT5 runner. So 3 different classes of car here, but the number 50 car is Mark Warren. Tom Holland is right behind him, trying to snatch that G40 lead back away. It was Holland that won race 1. Mark Warren then would very much like to repay the favour now in race 2, but it's going to run right to the line. Holland over the curb, sideways for Warren as they go through Brooklands, now through Luffield. Warren needs to be careful not to run wide. Holland's trying to fit his nose up the inside. He's going to have the overlap. It's going to be a drag race to the start-finish line. Get the photo finish camera ready, because this one is going to be very, very, very close, but on the inside line I think Tom Holland might just be able to do it. Bit of side drafting from Mark Warren, but he's not going to get there, and Tom Holland will win in the G40 Cup, having come from 3rd to 1st on the final lap of the race. Brilliant stuff. 2nd place goes to Mark Warren then, and 3rd, winning the AM category in the G40 Cup, is Rupert Laslett. He'll be happy with that, but I'm sure, given the opportunity to win overall, he would have been even happier with that. Well, the GT5 Challenge never fails to entertain, and the 2 races today have both been absolutely sensational. Both of them affected by safety cars, but when it was green flag conditions, the racing really has been second to none, and John Bennett makes up somewhat for that 10th place finish in race 1 by winning in the 2nd race of the day, with Josh Steed 2nd and Ben McKenna 3rd, those two tenths of a second apart at the flag. Bennett the winner then, Steed 2nd, McKenna 3rd, Kruklevi 4th, which might be his best result of the season so far. Yeah, I think it is. Mikey Doble 5th, a fighting 5th as well. Conor Grady 6th, Harley Horton unlucky to drop to 7th, ahead of Haytham Caragiuli, and then 2 more spinners, Elsley and Aspin, to round out the top 10. Aidan Hills was 11th, Harry Mangian 12th, won the GT5 AM category, with Bal Sidhu 2nd and Karim Sekat 3rd. Chris White was 4th in the GT5 AM category and 15th place overall. And behind them, Phil McGarty was next, ahead of Mark Steele after his spin, Will Roachford, and then Thomas Holland and Mark Warren, 1st and 2nd in the G40 Cup and the Pro element as well. Rupert Laslett was 3rd in G40 Cup and won the AM class, ahead of Nick White, who, despite an off, I seem to remember, in the early stages, came home 3rd in the Pro category, just ahead of Brendan Hafner, who did the same in AM. So lots of really, really good racing today from the Ginettas, and they'll be back out again with us at Donington Park a little bit later on in the season for their next rounds, and we're looking forward to having them back on the bill, on the British GT bill once again in the near future. Hopefully we'll see more of that kind of racing, and of course Josh Steed there with another solid second place. He is making himself look fairly comfortable at the top of the points, but it ain't over yet. John Bennett scored 35 points for that race victory, of course. Josh Steed gets 30 for second. Fastest lap went to Harley Horton as well, so none of the championship contenders getting the bonus point. Right, highlights of the 7th round of the championship then, and at the start of the race it was John Bennett who made the inside line work into Copse Corner and got the lead going into turn 1. Behind though there was all sorts of drama. Mikey Doble at the centre of much of it, went 3 wide at the inside of Will Orton and Magnus Crickleby into Beckett. They survived that, but then down at Stowe there was more contact, and the unlucky Orton was again involved, this time with Owen Hizzy. Doble rejoined though, and then Balsidou had a spin coming through Brooklands at the end of the opening lap. All of these factors came together to lead to a safety car. On the restart, John Bennett had the race lead, and he would lead at the end of the race, but it wasn't too straightforward a race for him. Spin down at Club for the 57 car of Nick White took him out of, or briefly out of, podium contention within his class, whilst at one point there were 7 or 8 of them scrapping away for the overall race lead. John Bennett fell back as far as 4th or 5th at one point, and then started to recover his way back through. There was a spin at Copse for Stephen Davis that brought out yellow flags for a little while, when David Elsley went for a big move. He was defending second place from John Bennett, outbraked himself at Brooklands, briefly got the lead, but then lost control of the car and spun. Speaking of spinning, a spectacular one for Mark Steele up at Beckett. Twice he did a full rotation, whilst in the G40 Cup, Thomas Holland was battling away with Mark Warren and Rupert Laslett, who won the AM category. Chris White also had to fend off Harry Mangian for honours in the GT5 AM category. At the front of the field, though, Harley Horton looked as though he might have been on for a podium, but a spin on the last lap meant that he would unfortunately not be able to do it. It was John Bennett that came home to take his 3rd victory of the season to close back in on the championship leader. We look forward to seeing the Ginetta GT5 Challenge on the package again in the very near future.